Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Not Funny Guys Presents News Radio Rewatch. And we are on episode 16, where we are going to be covering, as we now are moving into season 3, Review and Massage Chair. Which, by the way, Massage Chair is just another fun example of Bill's narcissism. But, let's get into the episodes. So we're going to start with Review. This one was written by Josh Lieb and directed by Tom Sharones. This one aired on the 25th of September 1996, and our basic summary is that Matthew discovers the comic strip Dilbert and quits his job when Dave refuses to let him. But a story about it. Dave then tries to reassure the staff about an underwhelming magazine critique is not as bad as it sounds. It is a guest star of Scott Adams, the actual creator of Dilbert, in the as a coffee shop patron, while they have an actor, Michael Adler, playing the man who is Dave's friend from across his hall in his apartment, who is pretending to be Scott Adams. And we have another guest star of Mark Fight as the coffee shop counterman. So let's break this down. So we open in that coffee shop, which is new, brand new. Matthew and Joe are near the front of the line. Matthew helps Dave skip ahead. As I said, the shop is brand new. Matthew sees the Dilbert cartoon they posted on the register, and he's unaware of the cartoon apparently, but he is now completely enraptured by it. Back upstairs, Lisa and Dave discuss the station's new routes. They've got a station review, a New York radio guide, which Lisa says she doesn't care, that's for nerds. But apparently Dave and Bill do care. Bill calls it the Alpha and the Omega. Dave can't keep an issue to read long enough to read it. They're all being taken by other people. Finally uses Beth's gum holding one. Yeah. Goes to his office where Mr. James is waiting for him. The critique of Dave's first year is basically Dave's main concern. Starts to read while Mr. James sits at his desk, being very annoying. Bugs him about his mom again. He's very distracting to Dave, making little pop noises. Catherine comes in. Basically hurt with the review and complains about her underutilization, and that's actually not what she's upset about. She's upset that the underutilization's in the review, and Dave thinks she's mad about that. No, she's mad that they spelled her name with a K and not with a C, because C is regal, like Catherine the Great, and K, quote, is the name, Catherine with a K is the name of some 2-bit biker chick from North Jersey. Bill comes in, highlights his own text, in which he says, Bill McNeil is adequate. Not sure he realizes what adequate means, but he thinks it's a massive superlative. So storyline A is going to be that station review, and storyline B is going to be Matthew's new obsession with Dilbert. Dave finally leaves to read in the break room. Matthew is showing cartoons of Dilbert to Beth. He's cutting the strips out of newspapers, thinks there's a story here. Again, obsessed. Thinks he's discovered something he hasn't. Matthew thinks he's a cutting-edge reporter. He's not. Beth is in Dave's office going on about Dilbert to Mr. James. When Dave walks back in, Mr. James has no idea what Beth was talking about. Dave has to tell Mr. James about the review because he hasn't read it. Very complimentary review, he says. Lisa and Catherine come in. They're both mad about being called a workhorse of New York radio, which for Lisa is bad, along with being fine, reliable, and adequate. Catherine's still mad about her name misspelling, and Bill thinks adequate is a great descriptor. In fact, he's praising it to somebody else on the phone. Dave finds Matthew now plastering his desk with cartoon strips of Dilbert. Dave shuts down his story ideas. Dave now finds that Lisa is calling the reviewer, someone named Eugene, and when he picks up, she yells, "You suck," over the phone, then hangs up. It's very childish. In his office, Matthew has a doll of Dilbert, and he's behind Dave's desk holding it up, pretending to be Dilbert. Matthew apparently now thinks he is Dilbert in some ways, starts relating every one of the characters in the strip to someone in the office. Dave is mad about all this. He goes for a walk, orders Joe not to help Matthew get to the office. Instead, he says, don't break the window, go through the door, but he didn't say about not coming in through the ceiling. Joe lowers Matthew in like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, which, by the way, special cross-preference here, Not Funny Guys presents Off the Reels, our main podcast. I think it's episode 215 in there. You can actually go and hear us discuss that film. So, wonderful crossover there. Interestingly enough, while he's being lowered down, Dave finds Matthew in his office on his desk after he got cut loose. Matthew feels unappreciated, wants to force Dave to read a Dilbert strip. Matthew threatens to resign and then quits. And as Dave tears up the comic strip in front of him. Down the coffee shop, Dave and Lisa come to discover that Matthew's now working there. Dave wants him to come back. Matthew is stubborn, though. Bill is convinced that Matthew will get bored and come back. Dave says he will go down to talk to him a little bit. Bill is still going on about being adequate. Finally, in the restroom, everyone opens, and finally Bill in particular opens up that he knows adequate is not a great superlative. Dave is mad about being called a workhorse, too, and then Mr. James, who's in one of the stalls, overhears all that, and apparently he owns the magazine that printed the article. They talk about this being fair. He says, synergy. He wrote the review. And he tried to make it helpful, but he made it worse. The whole gang goes downstairs now to ask Matthew to come back. Dave even brings in what he claims to be Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, to talk to Matthew to come back to work. He does. This convinces him, and then Dave tells Catherine this is not the real Scott Adams. Matthew quits the coffee shop, and post-credit, we find Beth being lowered down by Joe to give and deliver coffee to Dave. I will say, just as a fun bit of synergy, like I said, we actually have covered this episode very recently over on our main podcast. I'm going to check my notes real quickly here because I want to make sure I'm directing you to the right episode. So if you want to hear our actual notes, but this movie would have been brand new when this came out, actually. And I take it back to episode 216. Would have been is the exact episode you want to go look over on another podcast, Not Funny Guys Presents Off the Reels, where we're still talking about the Mission Impossible franchise. But if you want to cover our first look at it, and it did come out in 1996, the same year as this episode. But fun episode, fun referencing, but let's move on. We have arrived now at Massage Chair, written by Lewis Morton, directed again by Tom Sharon. This one aired on the 2nd of October 1996. And in this one, the basic summary is Bill buys a massage chair in defiance of budget cuts at the station. Dave fights with Mr. James over the elimination of free snacks in the break room. This is all related to the budget cut thing. So we open with Beth and Joe. Beth needs Joe to fix her phone, but he's busy fixing Catherine's desk. There's a whole question about what's wrong with it. Rather, he's souping it up, basically. Beth thinks Joe has a crush on Catherine, taunts Joe about it, he denies it. Catherine comes back to her desk. Joe asks if, she wants to go to dinner. But instead of saying that, he just says, well, you just want to have sex. And he skips that step and gets slapped for it. But he has created this new auto drawer for her, and it immediately malfunctions, and I think it tries to take off Matthew's finger. Meanwhile, Mr. James and Dave are discussing the budget in the office. Apparently, it's the only station in the red, only property Mr. James owns that's in the red, and they're over budget. And they need to cut something, and it's going to be the free snacks in the break room. Dave is worried about the staff morale. Part of Dave's job is apparently to break this to the staff. Mr. James won't do it. But, he's the one cutting it. Dave predicts what's going to happen here is that this will eventually lead to Bill starting a revolt. Cut to the break room. Bill is fomenting rebellion. Of course. Beth finds gum in the freezer. Ew. It's hers from earlier in the year or something like that. Bill goes on with references to smoking lounge outside by the windows decline because he stole all the comfy chair. Lisa comes in on this revolution and then has to leave, always claiming she needs to be impartial. Catherine tries to defend Dave a little bit. And again, Lisa just keeps coming in and out, basically saying she doesn't think she needs to be neutral until they finally shut her out. Beth thinks she should come up with a list of demands. Bill thinks it should be only one issue. And Bill picks himself to be the spokesperson. He wants everybody to go with it. And so they do. Later, we find Joe apologizing to Catherine for the sex comment earlier. Now he has a monitor that lets her see what's in her desk drawers without having to open them. It's useless but sweet. And he asks her out again. No go. So our storyline A is really around this whole mutiny over the snacks, but it's really going to lead to a massage chair. And storyline B is kind of this Joe-Catherine dynamic. Crews surround Dave at the conference table while he's eating his lunch. He knows this is Bill's idea. Bill comes and confronts Dave and says Dave even says he's trying to fight with Mr. James about this. Bill claims that they're all Spartacus, and he gets everyone to say they're Spartacus, I'm Spartacus. Bill ends up selling all of them out, though, once they've all gotten on board. His only demand is a reclining electronic massage chair for the smoking area. Everyone's caught flat-footed by this turn. Bill continues to get his history wrong throughout this episode. Lots of wrong facts about history. Dave refuses to pay for the chair. Bill says they will pay for it themselves. Apparently, with all of them, it would cost $400 each. Everyone but Matthew abandons Bill. So now it's a $2,000 chair, and Bill says he wants $1,200 from Matthew. Matthew thinks he's got the math wrong. Bill says he hasn't. Matthew ends up saying he only has $80, and of course, Bill takes it. Joe is still doing things for Catherine, trying to get a date. He's now installed drawer openers and an auto light turn on. Blows it again. He's being very crude. And now Beth and Lisa yank him into the break room. They tell him he needs to be more simple, not act like a tool. Joe is used to having his buddies around and says this always works with them, thinks he doesn't have a shot. Bill now has the chair installed in the smoking area, and everyone's kind of fawning over it, and then he turns on them again for not helping him and says they can't. And even Matthew is not allowed, even though he's faithful, but he gets to watch. Matthew thinks the next move should be to go for the snacks, but Bill doesn't care. He never did. Bill wants him to guard the chair when Bill's not in it. And this is when the massage chair puts him to sleep and Matthew has to take his newspaper and the cigarette he's still holding. Surprised he didn't set it on fire, be honest with you. Dave and Lisa meet Mr. James in the office to talk about this whole mutiny. Mr. James thinks they need free snacks, reversing the whole thing, to which Dave is like, I told you so. Dave insists he tell them that the snacks are back. And then they do this whole weird pantomime where Mr. James refuses and he goes way too far over the top about bringing the snacks back. He really oversells it and comes off as unserious. They try again to make it seem like Dave, and now it seems like Dave is abusing Mr. James now. Bill even decides now that he will share the massage chair, and everyone rushes to try it, and so Joe, Beth, and Matthew are on it, and it breaks. Catherine and Joe finally have it out. Once all this stuff taken off. She wants all this stuff taken off her desk. Come to find out, he gave her desk artificial intelligence to tell her Joe likes her. Catherine tells it that it's the saddest pickup line ever, but then she likes it. And Beth figures out, and she does the whole thing she did to Joe at the beginning about taunting him about liking. Now it's Catherine, you like Joe. Ooh. And then finally in the end credits, we get like an office blooper where they turn the chair into Batman mode and it drives off and everybody starts laughing. Fun way to end the episode. But that is where we're going to leave it for now as we move into season 3. Next time we have Arcade and Halloween. But until then, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. Write us. Tell us your thoughts. We want to hear from you guys. You can do that in the comment section, or you can do it by writing us on email at notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. Tell us things you're thinking about. Tell us things that you like. Things in the movies you like. You can cut out all our podcasts. You can comment about any of them. But over here, we do the TV stuff, so I want to hear input from you guys. What are you liking? What are you not liking? What should I change? All that fun stuff. Let me know. But as I was hinting at earlier, in the meantime, we have other podcasts, and this is our only live action YouTube one. But our main podcast, Not Funny Guys Presents Off the Reels, we're currently covering the Mission Impossible films, which got referenced in this back in review. So you should check that out. We are currently, we should have Ghost Protocol coming up real soon, and then we're moving on to the final 4, where we're going to get weird naming conventions. But we're already in the weird naming conventions. All right. If that's not your cup of tea, you can always check out my funny colleagues Casey and Eric. They have their podcast, Not Funny Guys Presents Wrestling with the Horror of It All, where they talk about wrestling, mainly WWE, and horror films. So you can go check that out. And then if that's not your cup of tea, we do have our final one, Not Funny Guys Presents Thinking About Thinking, where myself, Dr. John, and our Not Funny gal, Dr. Kristen, talk about politics, culture, AI, all kinds of things, whatever we're thinking about. And we have some in-depth fun discussions about it. So go check that out as well. Got a lot to offer. But in the meantime, like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. Subject them to this wonderful information in my smug face. Whatever. I don't know how to make a smug face. But remember, until next time, keep it not funny.